welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the initial process of the development of trade routes within the world and what specific trade created the expansion of the trade routes, through the world, which we now see we have now come all the way around. And we now know all of the entire circular trade routes of the world. But in the understanding of that particular trade route, you have to learn of the true fundamental goods that funded the development of these trade routes. And those appear in the form of either solid or liquid gold. In the solid gold trade, which came at a hefty price for life, as we see many wars and conquerings of the world were fought over acquiring gold, a physical value backing your kingdom's wealth and its ability to say we are worth this much. And the more gold you had as a nation, the more you were able to then push your fence line, essentially. And when you look at the way we have conquered to push that fence line, we now revert back to one particular trade, the substance trade, which began primarily with alcohol. This is what stemmed the road of Kashmir through the eastern areas, stemming from all the way far east of Asia, all the way into the African continent, where you can then trade everywhere beyond that port. But in the trading of the substance is where we found the greed and the ego of man begin. Because as more people became aware that alcohol, the spirit eating, the flesh eating spirit, that's what alcohol means, the flesh eating spirit. It eats at your essence. And the heftier the price came after the good, all of a sudden it became more sought after. And the moment a country makes something illegal, you then see a more intense way of forging the path for that good to be moved forward down the road. In the trade of alcohol, we saw the rise of not only just the deterioration of the kingdoms, that the alcohol created a warping of the minds of its rulers, because it created a mental stimulus of a separate experience, a lens over your train of thought, where you now gain what is known as liquid gold, liquid courage, an increase to your self-valor at the price of your spirit. Because you would now have to recover from that particular serum, if you wish. And in the gaining that liquid courage, the more you pursued the liquid courage, the less of your own self-courage you would have in return. The more it would steal your soul, the more you would seek it to gain it back. And in the true nature of trade, out of the truest form of business, is the act of creating demand, which means if you can get your client addicted to your goods, you would then see a huge level of revenue. And I'm not talking simply in the expense of narcotics at this particular point. Imagine now a sugar trade where we can actively put sugar in absolutely different types of fast foods, which then result in an addiction that almost has a mind of its own that speaks to you, I want this right now. And you get the craving, whether you choose to pursue that particular dragon or maintain your virtue and say, I don't want that crap anymore. That is entirely up to you as an individual, because that is all about the effect, essentially related back to the same neurotransmitter pattern between the initial substance trade of addiction and the initial substance trade of alcohol. It is the sugar content, which alcohol in essence is derived from making a fermentation of sugar, and it creates a flesh-eating spirit, essentially. It creates an addiction. And now when we see the rise that we can create addiction not only through the rise of substance through alcohol, but through the rise of the sugar you make the alcohol from and put it in foods, we could essentially create a trade that stole the lives of people. You see it in McDonald's and every other fast food, but I'm probably going to name McDonald's off the top of my head at this particular point, which per bun slice is 7 grams of sugar, which per packet of white sugar packet is 1 gram of sugar. Per bun is 7 packets of those particular sugar packets per bun half. And then when you get to the patty, you enter at 21 grams of sugar. Then when you get to your Coca-Cola, say 50 plus grams of sugar per cup. Then into your fries, another 34 grams of sugar. And that's if you're having one burger, of course, and not an ice cream or a milkshake or another burger. So, how do you introduce a hamburger? You meet Patty. And I'm here to tell you about a new way of looking at addiction, which is a true fundamental purpose of trading in different nations, which is the underground trading business of the sugar molecule, which is the exact same addiction that sugar creates a dopamine withdrawal. And the more sugar you intake, the more dopamine you withdraw from. Now you see that the same dopaminergic pattern functions the same in the brain in drug addiction. And the sugar business became essentially the business of powder. according to the powders you consumed, you would experience another sugar flesh-stealing spirit. From the beginning of sugar, we began seeing the alchemy of the experimenting of how to create different substances from a sugar base. And this particular black market trade created high demand because the realm of the unknown, that which it caused an experience of, resulted now in the exploration of the mind. And in its lack of understanding that the mind is just as sweet as honey. And just like honey, you can either catch more honeys being fly, or you can be fly catching more honeys. With that notion, in the idea that the mind is just like a honey hive, you cultivate it, and the addiction is what cultivates the mind. It's what feeds the way you develop it. And if you change the way you process the sugar pattern, that which you recreate the sodium acetate formulation of sugar, that then formulates within the brain neural structure upon a point of nucleation, similar to a sodium acetate heat pack. Now if we increase the level of sugar within our system, and we either experience a nucleation point such as a concussion or a drug-induced psychosis, this level of sugar within the system results in the solidifying of the crystalline molecule of the sodium acetate known as the sugar, which is a glucose fatty tissue, which then takes on a slightly more denser state and crystallizes, which then results in a echo-like chamber, where you then see where we develop echolocation from. It is as a result of a sugar-like addiction, which all substance use results back to the same pattern of replication that which sugar addiction causes. Drug addiction causes the same stimulus within the brain. Alcohol addiction creates the same stimulus within the brain. And now we see just how potentially dangerous powdered sugar really is. And powdered sugar was the true first gold. It's brown and gold in color. And it created all trading routes from everywhere in the world, because it was the very first most sought after good, because it tasted so good. It was like a piece of heaven. But the more we chase heaven, the more we fell. That is the analysis of the trade route created by the true initial trade, the sugar trade. Thank you.